folks, Ryan with True Arms. This is part 2 of our Remington 770 project. It will be short and sweet, I promise, because we didn't really get a whole lot of video footage of being out at the range. We did, however, we had some unexpected issues when we were out there. So I promise this will be short and sweet, and this is not the end of the project. This is just a little bit of an update, I guess you could say. Unfortunately, because we did have issues with the optic, we were unable to gather a substantial amount of information for you guys with variables. However, we did get the scope thing figured out towards the end. We got everything zeroed in, we got it shooting, and we did manage to get a few groups for you that I want to show you guys. So keep in mind, if you haven't seen the first video, go check it out. I go kind of an in-depth overview of why the Remington 770 is kind of a weird monster to tame, and is it really worth buying? Like I said in the previous video, this rifle cost me absolutely nothing, so I'm not going to complain about it. And no, this is no fancy precision rifle by any means, but in today's standards, in today's society, accuracy is the name of the game. There's an interesting article in American Rifleman that actually discusses this, that even though for a hunting rifle, you know, you'd be happy to have, you know, a 3-inch group at 100 yards, that's not what people want. Everybody wants a rifle that can shoot MOA or 1 MOA or sub MOA at 100 yards, even for, you know, deer hunting, moose hunting, whatever the case may be. So here's what we managed to gather. When we were out at the property, we set up at 100 yards, and you will see the video footage here in a minute. It took us a while to get the scope zeroed in, which we did manage to get that done. And we did have some significant, or some decent results, I guess you would say. I wouldn't say they're anything to, you know, write home about, but it does get the point across that, you know, this may be a viable option for somebody. And there is still potential to do things to this rifle that won't break the bank, but will still get you something that may be somewhat may be reliable in a pinch. One of the things I believe that was said was, you know, people like cheap rifles because they're throwaway guns, and I know that sounds kind of mean, but if I were to go, let's say, to Colorado or something like that, and I wanted to go hunting in the mountains, if I were to drop this rifle down a ravine or down a mountainside and it were to get busted up, hey, I'm only out a couple $100 versus, you know, taking something like a super high-end firearm, and now I'm out a few $1,000s. So that's kind of one of the things people look at here. So let me get down to business here and show you. In the video footage we see I am shooting at 100 yards. We managed to get 4 shots off. I'm sorry, not 4. 3 shots off at with 140 grain Remington core locked ammunition. Glad to say it. I got one more shot, but I'm actually happy to say that these bullet holes or these rounds are touching each other. I think we may have actually got this thing zeroed in, and it definitely likes the 140 grain Remington ammo. So one more shot, let's see. Then we managed to finally get it zeroed in, and I only had 3 rounds left. So I took those 3 rounds and I shot them at our steel target. And using our app here that we've downloaded, we can kind of see the group size. In this case, our steel target, 3 shots at 100 yards on steel, running 140 grain. That puts us at a group size of 1.04 inches or 1 MOA at 100 yards. Now, this is with the only thing done to it is our custom muzzle brake that we built for it. So that's the only thing that we have done at this point to this rifle to see how it shoots. We haven't free floated the barrel, we haven't bedded the action, we haven't done anything. We just literally, or I threaded it and I built this brake for it to help. And as you can see, 1 inch at 100 yards, you know, that's fairly decent. I would be comfortable with that. But now we shift over to the 150 grain Winchester PowerPoints, and it's a completely different story. Our first grouping, as you can see, and I'll pull it up here on the app, we see that we have 150 grain PowerPoint at 100 yards. All of our range information's in there, so you can pause and look and see, you know, temperature and wind and all that stuff. But with the muzzle brake installed, we see a group size of 1.79 inches or 1.71 minute of angle at 100 yards. So those 150 grains ammo tends to open up a bit. So the next part of our project was to remove the brake, unfortunately, and see how it shoots at that point. When we open up the brake, or when we take off the brake and shoot, our group size opens drastically. Along with a 3.5 inch shift to the right, we see a 3-round group or 3-shot group at 2.47 inches or 2.36 MOA at 100 yards. And with a 3.5 inch shift to the right. So you can see when you take that muzzle brake off, you're going to get some change in impact, and that's always something important to keep in mind if you're ever going to put a brake on something. For fun, I went ahead and threw the brake back on and took those last 2 shots, only 2, I should have done 3, I know, hindsight's 20/20. And those last 2 shots went more back towards center. As you can see, with the brake installed, our second group shows a 1.56 inch group at 100 yards. Those 150 grain Winchester, they just do not like this rifle. We did have issues running that ammunition prior to that. I went out to test fire our muzzle brake with those 150 grain, and the first shot I took jammed up the action, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with it. I thought maybe it was an issue with the rifle, but then I looked at the actual case and noticed that the actual case neck had split on me when it fired. So that would explain the hardness to extract that cartridge. So from just these few figures that we have, nothing substantial, nothing that like I said, I'm not writing anything here in concrete, no 100%, yes, this is what we're going to do, this will fix your rifle. But judging by the few groups that we do have and getting some trigger time behind it, Winchester ammunition for this particular rifle, I'm not saying for all of them, but the 7mm rim mag 150 grain PowerPoints are not something for this rifle. We've had 2 instances where the cases didn't want to extract properly, and it was almost like overexpansion. So pretty sure they were some hot loads, a little hotter than they were supposed to be. But when we moved to Remington, and you know, I've put about 3 boxes of the Remington ammo through it, and I've had no problems whatsoever. But every once in a while, the Winchester seems to give us problems. So that's kind of the update on this part, or this project. Now, interestingly enough, if you look at the video footage, and I will throw this in here, the muzzle brake, a lot of people say muzzle brakes may or may not help. In this case, it is a drastic difference between shooting it with the muzzle brake versus without it. Not only on point of impact, but just the perceived feel of the rifle, the recoil that you're feeling is way different. And I will slow down and zoom in on this so you guys can see the difference in the muzzle jump and the force, if you feel it in my body, versus shooting it with the muzzle brake on. It is substantially different and makes it actually incredibly comfortable to shoot. You know, I could sit behind it pretty much all day and not get fatigued by it. So that is a huge improvement. It kind of makes it a little more easy to get those groups in. But yeah, without the muzzle brake, it does seem to have some pretty sufficiently large groups. If you were to look at the groups, even at a 2-inch, 2.5-inch group at 100 yards, and you compare that to the standard from a few years back, this would still be a viable hunting rifle. I guess the whole point of this project was that I wanted to see where we could go with this, and we are by no means finished with this project. We still have quite a ways to go, but ideally, the 7mm Remington Magnum is a cartridge that is designed to be shot out to 500 yards to give a humane kill on a medium to large animal. So the question is can we push this Remington Model 770 out to 500 yards and consistently hit? So thank you guys for watching so much. I'm sorry there's not a whole lot of information in this video. I know I had an individual comment asking if there was going to be a part 2 to this, and it's kind of cool that somebody actually finds this stuff interesting. So thank you for our supporters and thank you for watching. Right, so thank you again so much. I love you guys. Shoot safe, stay safe, and God bless.